Okay, everybody, welcome to another Nova Scribes. Today we are talking about the IFVP-I, the International Forum of Visual Practitioners Institute, new certification that just came out. Erin, can I kick it over to you to do a little bit of a meeting overview?
Sure thing, Brian. Thanks. For those that are on the recording later, hi, good day. Really glad you're listening in and taking the time. Those that are here in presence, thanks for being here. What you need to know is that you'll actually not be hearing 100% from me the whole time, I promise. We're going to have a conversation today with a cohort that has actually been a part of the process. So I'll speak more about that in a minute, but while you're here, Brian mentioned it, and I want to reinforce the goal of this session. We'd love for you to walk away, one, knowing about the IFVP Institute. What is it? And what are these certifications? Like, why would you want them? You'll hear then from like some first line experience. I'll do a moderated panel. Would Matthias and Tool and Brian just raise your hands? Like we all know Brian for sure. Tool, can you say hi? Perfect. Matthias, thanks. These are the three master practitioners, master visual practitioners that have been certified through the process. And so I'll do some interviewing of them. And then the other thing to say is that it's over to you. We'd actually like to hear from you after you hear all this, kind of what your questions are, what you're curious about. That helps us as a group just get a feel for maybe what's missing. The certification process as a program is all about continuous improvement. So we have Phil here as well as Renata, who's going to speak to you in a moment from the IFVP Institute. And so I really want to ground it in their work first and give you some sense of what that is. So let's see, process. So those are our goals: awareness, process, and learning from you. Process talks, you'll hear from Renata shortly, an overview. And then certified folks are going to talk. And then it's over to y'all to get your questions. So I will say, from a role standpoint, kind of know who's on deck for what. My ask of you all to know a couple things. The process itself is somewhat sensitive. So what I mean by that, as we talk through the certification, we go through questions with the panel. We won't speak to what the question process itself, right? So to that end, can't answer those types of questions, but good news, hopefully all of you might want to go through the process and you'll find out. But it is under a non-disclosure agreement. So that's the why. So just want to mention sensitivities. If they come up, I'll have to hold those. And Renata and Phil can keep me honest. The other things to be aware of, functionality, we will be specifically focusing on the questions like verbally. You can put them in the chat, but what I will say is that right around like hopefully at top of the hour or earlier, we'll just open it up completely to you all. So please feel free to just hold your questions and we'll open it up that way. Other things, I will say we want you to have a conversation. So after the panel, please jump in. Please jump on camera. We'd love to know what's coming up for you. Renata and Brian, did I miss anything as my co-hosts before we get started? Feeling good? Okay. So Renata, talk to us. What's the IFVP-I? How is it different than IFVP? We don't read websites. We don't read. What is all this?
Thank you, Erin. Hello, everyone. Well, the president of the IFVP Institute is here, but I'm going to take my take on it. I'm going to tell you my take on it. Well, the IFVP Institute is a branch of the IFVP itself. It was co-founded to be the charitable and educational and standards for the profession part of the IFVP. But the important thing to say is they are completely two separate entities. So IFVP is one thing, and IFVP Institute is a whole new thing with the board, the president, and committees and everything else. And this group of people at the IFVP Institute started to work on educational interviews, gathering articles, a lot of resources, informations, ebooks, everything that you can think of that could help our profession to move forward. You will find it at our website. If I can ask someone to put the website on the chat, please. is not the IFVP website. Thank you, Brian. So what else? The Institute was founded in 2019, and it took us a couple of years to actually put together this whole process of the certification. And for those who are not familiar with, there's everything that you need to know. It's on our website, but I know you guys don't read. So let me just give you a brief overview. The process of coming up with the competencies, the core competencies of the visual practitioners was completely grassroots. And Brian and Aaron and Tanya Gadsby and Sam Brad, people are in our field, and Dr. B were part of this cohort, this group. And we just worked with what the community had developed at the IFVP conference in 2019 in Montclair. So we took all of those core competencies, probably, I think it was 144, if I'm not mistaken, and we narrowed it down in several, with methodologies, scientific methodologies proven, and things put it together by professionals, not because we wanted to. And we narrow it down to the competencies that we have today. The core competencies can be found on the website. It's an overview, right? And it's a very easy way to understand where are you as a practitioner if you take actually the self-assessment tool that we have, which has all the competencies, and you can grade yourself from 1 to 10 to the best of your abilities. So read through the competencies, take a look, self-assess, and then you will reach an average, right? To tally up all your numbers, you reach an average. We have 2 certifications at the moment. So it's the IFVP Institute Visual Practitioner certification. There is a standard certification. And to achieve that and to apply for that, you should average on the self-assessment tool 5, right? So from 1 to 10, you should average 5 on all competencies. To achieve the Visual Practitioner Master certification, you have to average at least 8 or 9, or of course 10. We've made it a very easy and simple process to follow those steps, and developed the pilot for this certification with the very group that I just mentioned, adding Tul Lekutai from Thailand, Matthias from Germany, Tanya Gadsby from Canada, and Jessamy from Australia, and all of our American friends, Brian Tarallo, Aaron Gordon. So that's it in a nutshell. Would you rather ask me something else, Aaron?
No, just I think not for now. I think the group might have some questions. One thing that I want to offer this room about the certification process that I want to reinforce, I think I heard you say, Renata, is we didn't start from scratch, that this had been something that had been done, been worked on for a long time. And I think I heard you saying that from the IFVP, the IFVP-I was created. And so a lot of that work, IFVP members from way back when had come alongside and partnered. So we took that information, IFVP-I took that information and sussed it or worked through it to figure out what's here that we would want to keep or consolidate. Is that fair?
Yeah, sure.
If you think about the certification, what's the basis of it? The model, or is that like, how do people kind of know how am I ready for this? The assessment tool?
The assessment tool, yeah. Yes, you should read through the competencies and understand, look at yourself, and I can give you an example. So we have one here, self-management, right? Is under feel, it is emotional intelligence and management. So for self-management, it says demonstrate self-management, reactions, biases, energy management, and needs. So think about yourself, how you are when you're working. I have an anecdote. It's a very good to illustrate this point. I was working with a company that makes paper, right? Something that we use very often. And I was training a young new visual practitioner, and this person was a biologist by trade. And when they were referring to reforestation and something that they were doing as a program with a nonprofit, a local nonprofit for one of their plants, she scoffed. So we don't do that, right? If I understand paper, it's made out of trees, but if they're talking about you're working on a company that is makes the paper, so if they're talking about reforestation or whatever they're talking, we cannot show our reactions in this way because it's unethical in my view. But this is, for example, one of the things that you should think about yourself. I don't think anybody here or the majority of our colleagues will do that. But for a very young professional, it could happen. So this also serves as a guide to take a look at what are our standards for the profession. We never created this thinking of boxing people in or out. This is something that have been in the works since the profession is the profession. Still have the privilege of work with Susan Kelly, one of our founding fathers of this profession, and with David Sibbett that sits on our board. And since the beginning, they were looking for, okay, what is the best way to do this? What is the best behaviors that we can have as professionals? But it's not a necessary thing. Not everybody needs the certification. This is for people who want to have that, and they need it. In some countries, to work with several government entities, for example, you have to have proof of your profession. And we don't have any formal training. We don't have colleges, not yet, or graduate courses or everything. But with a certification, we can prove actually that you went through a process, that you fulfill those competencies, and you are really a certified professional. That's the main thing about the certification. It's not mandatory. It's not for everybody. It's something that for those who need it or appreciate it, it's a very important piece, right?
Thanks for that. I reinforced, I'm hearing you say, and 100% blew my mind too. It's not for everybody. Some really need it. And so this certification in some countries really helps meet the requirement to be hired for this type of work. Thanks for that. How about we do this? Let's hear about the process itself from those that went through it. Fair? Thanks, Renata. So for Brian, for Tool and for Matthias, these folks were part of an initial cohort. And that cohort was given the opportunity to say, hey, try this out, like see how this process is, what it's like. And so I wanted to give them a chance to speak to that. I'm going to spotlight you all. At least I hope I can, or I'm attempting to.
I take I'm on. I take it I'm on now that I'm spotlighted. Is that right, Aaron?
Sure, you are so on.
All right. So for me, there were really kind of the two phases of it are a lot of document gathering. So the process is really well. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Aaron.
Can I interrupt you? Can I ask we do some intros first?
Sure. I'm Brian. I'm Brian. My preferred pronouns are he and him. I'm from the United States. I've been doing this visual practitioner thing for about the last 15 years or so. I'm primarily English. I can order lunch in Spanish, and I usually work in the U.S. and specifically the D.C. metro area. So two phases of the certification process. One of them was a lot of document gathering. And so that was, there were kind of two parts to it, which was outlining your expertise. And for that, kind of I put together like a big chart that said, well, here's, the kind of work that I've done. And then the other part of it was really answering some questions that spoke to those competencies that Renata spoke about before. So there's really two parts to the documents. And then besides that, there was also, I'll call it kind of an interview, sort of a practical interview, where it was a Zoom meeting, so here's me. And then on the line, there were two other practitioners who were asking me some really good competency-based questions. And so I had to speak against those and generally show up like I knew what I was talking about. Erin, how well does that describe the process as you understood it?
Yeah, I think offers certification why. Makes sense for me, Brian. How about Tool? Tool, if you would just introduce yourself, and the question is, what is your certification why? Why did you go after it?
Yes, as Renata mentioned, in case of Thailand, it's quite very low awareness of the visual practitioner. And when I work with some private sectors or even the government agency, I have a lot of questions. And they have no like bachelor degree or something of the profession. And then the certification is like a very good evidence to prove that they have this kinds of profession in some other countries. And then if I have the certificate is prove my ability to do that job. Yeah, it's very important for in case of in Thailand, but I don't know in somewhere else they might not need it. Yeah.
So Tool, I have to ask. I mean, we've got Thailand where you're from. How many years have you been in visual practice?
12 years.
12 years. And languages. What do you scribe in?
Sorry, again, please.
What do you scribe or facilitate in? What languages?
Oh, in Thai and in English.
Thanks for that. Okay,
Yeah.
more to come. And Matthias, how about you? If you give an intro and then your certification, why?
Sure, I'm Matthias. I'm from Germany, and I work in Germany and also in the Middle East, Eastern countries, but also occasionally across Europe. I'm not alone. I have a large team. Two actually of my employees are also here, interested in the certification. And my interest in joining this was quality-wise. So I'm actually listening to Tool. I'm exactly the opposite. So there's no need from organizations for certification or so. It never occurred to me, but it's more to maintain a certain quality level because I'm from a country with lots of practitioners. I'm having around, I identified around 500 to 600 practitioners that call themselves graphic recorders. I phrase it as call themselves graphic recorders. And I'm in a country where the quality level and the pricing went extremely down. So I looked at this as a quality assurance and a sign of maintaining a certain level of standards and quality, which I find important. And that was my motivation to join.
Cynthia, thanks for being here, by the way, too.
And I'm 20 years in visual practice.
There we go. And I also asked the question about languages. What languages do you record in?
I'm English and German. I have a little bit of French, but I have better team members to do that in French than I. So, yeah.
Got it. Well, so I'm going to step and Tool, this question's coming to you, and then I'll jump for Brian and for Matthias to answer as well. We've talked about, but not a lot, the competency model, right? This model. And so the drawer of it that represents the picture that we have is by David Sibbett. Renata Orville, continue to correct me if I'm wrong. He provided kind of the illustrative of it. The model itself goes through, by the way, you can download all of this. The idea of how do I feel, how do I do, and what do I know? So when we think about those components and purpose. So we think about those components of the competencies and then all the sub-competencies under it. When feel, we think about emotional intelligence and management of it. Renata gave an example earlier. Thanks for the visual, Brian, as well. If somebody wants to spotlight that, that'd be great. Know is about your expertise. What do you know? And then the do, 2 layers of do. When we think about that, we're thinking about how do I apply my feel, my know to the work itself? And there's 2 categories for that. So I'd encourage you to look at the model. That's really step 1. Like, listen to this. We're appreciative that you're here, kind of getting a feel of what this is about, what it's been like for us that have done this together. Next up, look at those competencies. Does that reflect your practice? Do you want to learn through those? And then from there, take that assessment. So the question is about the competency model Tool. If you would, answer this one for me. What about the competency model really resonates with you? And why?
Yes, if compared to this competency model, that they have three things like do, know, and feel. But in my work framework, I split it into four. Listening, captures, digest, and draw. But somehow the things that affected me and reflects me a lot is know, because I very I want to learn more in about listen and knows and aware the situation and try to develop myself from the listening to interpretation in the good way when I draw a picture. Yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you. Who would you like to hear from, Brian or Matthias? Who would you like to pass the baton to?
I can say something. So
Sure.
that model for me was, it was like, oh, there it is. It's because I had around 10 years ago, I published a book about visual practice in German language, actually. But I had a whole chapter about the competencies of practitioners, which to this day is still unmatched and unseen somewhere, unless you look at the competency model of the Institute. So there it is. It's just the same. So I was very pleased to see I was on the right track with what I composed back in the day, more than 10 years ago, writing it in 2014, published in 2015. And it's just literally the same. It is also that the actual act of drawing and the actual visualization act is just a small portion of the whole skill set. And in this country, in Germany, I earn a lot of shitstorms for that opinion, but I'm on my track and I know exactly why it is like that. You need a lot of other skills, social skills, system skills, listening skills, and so on. So it's a very good model, I can say.
Is there a piece of the model particularly that resonates with your practice, Matthias? And I love your honesty.
Yeah, I think everything in the subtle realm, everything in the subtle realm of sensing and listening between the lines, feeling between the lines, and also making the untangible and unseen something that can be serving the process. So that is really something how I work, and it's in the model. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. The line behind you just reinforces what you're saying. It's so great. Brian, how about you? Is there a
Yeah, so
particular frequency?
now that Matthias just kicked this the rating of this up to PG-13, let's just stay there for a second. So I'm going to answer a question that you didn't ask, Aaron, which is actually speaks to Matthias's book, right? So Matthias is one of many people who have already come up with competency models, and what I want to stress with this one is that there was a huge meta study that was done. We looked at the work of Brandy Agerbach, David Sibbitt. We went, we looked at anybody who has taken a crack at saying, here is what it takes in order to be a visual practitioner. And we identified literally hundreds of different competencies that came out of all of those seminal works that were there, and we could name those. And then we did what good facilitators do. We clustered, we said, okay, well, this thing is kind of like that thing. And it was those clusters of ideas that rolled their way into these big categories, which then, you can get into those categories and decompose and figure out, okay, what really is in there. So to Tool's point, listening is absolutely part of the competency model when you go a layer down.
And which one resonates with you?
Probably the one that I'm bad at, which is the feeling side. That one was a good thing for me because I tend to show up as pretty tactical. It's like, okay, we're here to get this job done. The way that the model helped me out was to really shine a light on things that I needed to develop in my own practice. I'm not good at sensing the room. I'm like, okay, we're here to get this job done, right? Let's get it done. And so it was a really good way for me to kind of bring presencing into the room.
Thanks, Brian. I want to say, Renata, how many iterations of the visual? Like 17 plus, right? This was some work. Renata, what's that fun fact?
Yeah, fun fact. Thank you, Brian, for that explanation. We did look at several models, including of adjacent professions like coaching and facilitating, this kind of thing. But the competencies, the way that you've seen now, this is the 6th iteration, right? To become this. And the visual, it was 18 drawings. And the board of IFVP Institute discussed it thoroughly, and it was, yeah. So I hope it stays, this one. That's it.
Yeah. And simple question, but maybe not. If I am in the seat of, okay, how long would this take me? So, Tool, how long did it take you to go through the process? Ad hoc question.
Sorry. Again, please, Erin, the question.
You to go through the process? Do you remember?
Yeah, you mean the process, right? Which one is the hardest? The
No,
question?
how long did it take?
Oh, how long does it take? It's about 6 months, I guess, since the first day I collected all information until the interview day. Yeah.
Okay, so roughly 6 months for you, Matthias. How long for you?
I don't remember the actual number of months, but it was also considerably long because of the difficulty to find a project that I actually can record a video. At a certain point you should record a video for the assessment. So it took me a long time to record that video because of language and translation requirements, which I fully understand, but also because I'm only part-time out for clients. I run the company, and I'm the CEO of this company. So I not only go to clients, I have a lot of other work. So to identify the right project was the main challenge for me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And I'm asking this mainly for all of you that are listening. So, hey, if I just want to jump into this today, I assess myself and go for it. There is a couple components that take a little time. Mentioning the video and doing a recording for a live project to show your skills. And then there's another piece of it, which is scheduling an interview and doing that interview. So two portions that could take some time. Brian, how about you? How long was the process for you?
I mean, if you go all the way back to 2019, I don't know. I probably altogether, when I really started dialing in on it, I'd say it took a couple of months to get all of the paperwork together and get everything scheduled.
Now let's keep going. Matthias, this one's for you. How do you use the competency model to develop yourself? Brian already mentioned a little bit where he was with feel and going through sensing and presencing. How do you use it to develop yourself outside of the certification?
Actually, to be honest, I didn't look at it so much because, as I explained, it was so familiar to me because I developed something similar 10 years earlier. But this just explains how important this competency model is. But this also means, in my case, it's totally woven into my actual being in my daily practice. So I don't have to look at it on a sheet of paper. Oh, this is the model. No, it's inside. This is the way I look. This is the way I feel. This is the way I lead clients. I lead a team. Yeah. So it's definitely something. And then I'm also close to many of the competencies because I'm just such a learner. Yeah. I'm just so into development and impact. So it's always in my operation system, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the highlight. I'll never forget the first time I went through a certification myself, which was, chances are, if you're here to certify, going through the process, you just might be ready anyway. Right? So it's one of those situations where it's going to come natural to you. So just being you might be enough for the process to be able to shine. So something to realize. If it resonates with you, if the model, this conversation is resonating with you, you might be ready.
Yeah, I just want to say it's not like a model and this is like the external truth or something. It's just common sense in a way for our practice, and so you can definitely embrace it because it's just naturally there. Maybe it needs a deeper look, or it's already very present with you.
Yeah, we lost Brian for a moment. Tool, anything that you want to share about that one before we move on? When you think about how you use it to develop yourself.
Actually, I use the model to compare with I usually do in my profession, and I feel like some for example, feel I can imagine like each of everyone have the different shapes of jar or something like that. I can compare each one have the different shape of jar, right? And the information is like a water that's put in the jar, and then it's like each one of us have the different and diverse experience. It's like we interpretate all the information into the different things. It's the model is reflect me to imagine something like that. that I want to add it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. Andrea, just as a heads up, we'll come to group questions in a moment, but I see you, so that'll be the first one that comes. Next one for the panelists we have. Let's mix it up a little bit. How do you most value from the certification? So now that you're certified, how do you use it? Do you use it? Brian, thoughts?
I love it. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of gets back to what Matthias was saying before. I mean, sometimes I find myself in this place where I'm clearly talking to somebody who's shopping around. They're like, well, we're talking to 12 other graphic recorders. And I'm like, yes, are you talking to one that's certified? And they're like, ooh, tell us about that. So I kind of use it as a little bit of a competitive advantage, right? And to say that, this is my full-time job, right? I do take this very seriously. I take my skill set seriously. I take the investment in myself seriously. So, for me, I use it just as a little bit of an edge if I ever find myself in a competitive place. The other thing is that it's kind of nice if I'm ever teaching or if I'm doing a keynote, like before I actually get in front of the group and have to talk, to say, look, I am a master certified visual practitioner. That's what gives me a little bit of, the authority and the wherewithal to be able to stand in front of you all and say, here's a way to get this stuff done.
How about for you, Matthias? How do you value from it?
Yeah, I value from it because as I said earlier, I'm in a country with a lot of competition, taking quality and pricing and standards down, or even with practitioners that say we don't need standards. Everybody in the room doing something live with a marker is called graphic recording, for example. That's the lowest standard that you can find with many people. So I'm there, a signpost, I have it on the website and so on. I say, hey, there's actually standards for a good reason. There's actually a quality level for a good reason to really deliver value for a group. So I'm definitely somebody who emphasizes the impact and the transformational aspect into client systems. And that's something that is very well communicated with the certification.
Thank you. Tool, anything you'd like to add? Different country.
I use this certification as a PR as well. It's like their starting point for the clients to tell them a lot more that, okay, they have the IFVP, they have the profession association, and they have like the certification that if you want to learn more about the skill set, something like that, of course, they help me a lot. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Maybe a couple more questions and then we'll jump in. When you think to the group, so when you think about the certification itself, one of the reasons we have this panel is so that we could get different voices, right? A global voice. It might be repetitive to what you just said, but I'll ask at the risk of, what does the certification represent for your market of practice? So what do you sense is the representation of the market itself? Any thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I'll take this one on. I think it's what does it represent in terms of the market? Two things that I'll rephrase. So again, Matthias was talking about how it really sets one apart in terms of the quality, the dedication, the investment that they place in themselves, their experience, their level of expertise. The other thing is I want to highlight this with Lynn. Lynn brought in a great idea into chat, which is I think graphic recording and facilitation is still so new to many business customers that certification might be just the reassurance to get them to say yes to starting a project. It's kind of like that idea where, you're hiring a contractor to work on your kitchen and they say, yes, and we're licensed, bonded, and insured. And even if you have no idea what licensed, bonded, and insured means, it's like, okay, well, this sounds official. Maybe I'll give this person a little bit of extra credit. So it's a way of kind of like tapping into that sense of authority, that sense of like there is some sort of certifying body out there that has blessed this person and said that they're actually good at their job.
Probably use that person on the housing, by the way. So just send them my way. Matthias or Tool, anything from you all that you'd like to share about what this represents in your market? Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, in my market with the hundreds of practitioners, it is a very unknown, unseen certification yet. So nobody knows about it. I mean, there's no visibility that this exists actually among practitioners and among clients. I mean, for clients, it's very easy to say to communicate, because just as Brian said, you just build it into your sales process, and there you go. That's very, very helpful. And every client will look on your website and see it. So it has an influence, but in the community of practitioners, it is totally unseen, and nobody is aware about it. And this is something that should improve for that to change or shift the level of quality in the country or in the continent.
It's interesting you say it, Matthias. I hear almost like a call to all of us as visual practitioners. How do we help bring awareness to this? That it's here.
Well, get more certified for sure, and I hope some of my team will be certified soon. So, but then also to really make it visible, really talk about it, network with other organizations. But it's just a path, and it's just beginning. So it's all fine.
Step by step. Renata, I see your hand. Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to mention that coming back to the educational portion on every single market on the planet, the competencies are a very good start for someone that is just new and wants to go to this profession. So where should I start from? Okay, look at the competencies, see what it takes to be a visual practitioner, facilitate and graph record, and right. So I think the educational component for the ones that are starting, it's very important too.
It's a great baseline. Hopefully the baseline. Tool. And then we'll come back to Brian.
Yeah, and in case in Thailand, when I try to promote about the certification, they have some feedback from people or colleagues that ask me inbox that what is it? I want to learn about that. What is this kind of profession? I think it's very good starting point to amplify to some other people, and then afterward I can raise the awareness, or maybe try to promote more about the trainings for this kinds of profession. Yeah.
Brian, I saw your hand up. I see time, so I want to give it over to the group after that.
Yeah, really quickly, I want to build on what Renata was saying more about education. So I mentor every now and then, if I've got time. And when I bring somebody new on as a mentee, they typically, I say, well, what do you want to focus on? This is a huge practice. There's a lot of things that we could talk about. They'll usually say something like, well, I want to learn how to draw like you, or I want to learn how to color like you. And I'm like, no, you really want to learn how to draw like Bruce Van Patter. You really want to learn how to color like Aaron Gordon. But then what I'll do is I'll show them the list of the IFVP competencies and say, look, just go through this and rate yourself. Right? Just how do you do at each one of these things? And typically they'll go back through it and they'll say, well, the thing I really need to work on is listening or synthesis, right? Or some of those things that they didn't see until they had the vocabulary around it. And so to Renata's point about education, just having the competency model to be able to assess yourself and say, okay, where am I strong? And then where are my development opportunities? That can give people a language and a vernacular to actually make some progress and, get better at this thing.
But I'm looking at the few that are with us and seeing your faces, and it's a really nice, to your point, Brian, about like mentoring. And we don't all have a lot of time, or we've developed, but we've got to develop others to help us do this work. It's a really great place to start and end to help cultivate learning journeys for people. So thanks for that, Brian. I wanna get to what's you all talking a little bit. And I'm going to ask Andrea its question, maybe probably goes to Renata. What would you say is the biggest difference between the tiers of certifications? So master versus practice.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for the question. It's a really good one. The main difference is the level of expertise that the practitioner will bring. We were looking for, okay, what can we do to honor those who are in the few starting years of the profession, but they are not qualified enough to be master. So we know that the level of expertise will be assessed differently. That's the main difference.
I'm gonna pull a thread. Renata, you can shut me down on recording. That's fine. When Andrea was asking her question, I'm wondering if there's like a particular difference. Is there like a key thing? Do you have an example, or we just have to take the assessment tool?
It's with the assessment tool, yeah.
All right, I got shut down. Andrea, I tried.
If moving forward with the questions, can we also not only speak about graphic recording or graphic facilitation, but also about other disciplines like strategy visualization or other flavors of our practice?
It's funny you mentioned, like, so Matthias brings up such a good point that it is practitioner. So take a look at those competencies and find yourself in it is the invitation. So if you see yourself more in the facilitative side, you might see yourself there. If you see yourself more in the scribe side, you might see yourself there. If you think I'm only a digital person, you might see yourself there. I'm only analog. Same thing. So that's the encouragement, is look at the competency model, and our hope, our wish is that you do see yourself. Other questions? Thanks, Brian, for the link to the assessment. Oh, Felipe, hello. I wish we were in California. What are the costs involved with the certification process? Yes, and on website, and we will give it to you. Other question, and is there a difference between the visual practitioner and the master certification? I think we might come back to it. Same question about cost and expiration renewal timelines. Great. All right, so let's do some for both. Sarah, thank you, and Filippo, thank you. Pipo. Renata, costs, can you remind us? Perfect.
And
Thanks for
Renata, if you're speaking right now, we can't hear you.
Thanks, Brian. Do you see that?
Yep, looks good.
Yeah.
So we have the application fee. There is the admin, probably the only thing involved. It's a person, actually a live person, assessing the application. Then the certification fee, that for those who are IFVP or EVP members, there's a discount for that. For the master certification, the recertification is within 3 years, and then it's a small fee, and then it's lifetime. You don't have to certify again. And the visual practitioner, the standard one, is a lesser value, but also the same discounts apply and the same recertification timeline. And then you can apply for the master in the future. That's it.
Perfect. So for people and for Sarah, any additional questions, feel free to come off mic or on mic if you'd like.
Yeah, I can speak my question out loud. I was wondering, so I'm a ICF certified coach, and there's a lot of similarities here. And so one of the things that ICF has done for years that I'm wondering if the IFVP Institute is also doing or considering doing is accrediting training programs that are aligned to the competencies and or the certifications, so that like a person could actually who's interested in training up to become a visual practitioner could use their training as like sort of a the beginning of the path towards certification.
Sarah, I love that. This is something in the pipeline. It has not been developed yet, but we have strong beliefs that also the continued education credits and all of that can be incorporated to this program, but it's within the future. We don't have this yet developed.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I
see Brian's got a hand up too.
A little bit. Yeah. So I've been teaching principles of graphic facilitation, the Grove course, for a while. I've been teaching my own course called Think with Ink. I am in the process of coming up with a workshop specifically designed against the competencies. Okay, and I got to be careful with the NDA, which Aaron mentioned earlier. So Renata, if you'd like a pilot case to use for accreditation, I would love to work with you on that particular one. But yeah, that's a work in progress.
Noted. Thank you.
Hi, this is Ashanti. I just have a question in regard to the application. I'm just wondering, where does digital recording and scribing fit in? I noticed in the application it only mentions paper and foam board, and I came in mostly doing digital scribing. I'm just starting to, wrap my hands around paper, but I'm just wondering, like, where does digital, in terms of a format, fit into all of this if you're a graphic recorder?
Erin, can I ask you your beautiful language
Oh,
for
sure.
that?
I certainly can. So, Shanti, as a tried and true love digital myself, I'm hopeful in the competencies you won't catch that the tools piece, the modalities piece of how you explore those competencies and show up with them will be diversified. So, meaning that whether you are 100% analog or 100% digital, irrelevant. It's, can I demonstrate the competencies to then be certified, in the process?
Okay.
And to answer your question, where does it show up? The video. So when you actually go into the certification, like the process itself, and you demonstrate, if you choose digital, it's just showing how you did your work.
Okay, I guess my I guess my question is when I am looking at the application, when I started to pull it up and look at it, it was specifically asking for examples of foam and paper and not digital.
Yeah.
So we just need to edit that probably. This is another.
Okay, all right. So I didn't know if there was something going on or if it was just you guys saw it differently than paper and foam board.
Well, in truth though, it's interesting you say that. We have to all remember in the 90s, I want to say when we were all thinking about this, there was a lot of analog, right? And not a lot
Right.
of bear with the evolution. Renata, I'm wondering for the group, anything else you'd like to share? Ashanti, great question.
Yeah, I just want to finish the thought on the Ashanti's question. The big difference between the digital and the analog, that it's very in your face, is the ability to change what you're recording of places, right? You can completely change your mind and rearrange and design it in a different way that it's impossible to do in the analog way. Not impossible, but it's a little bit more difficult. So that's one of the main reasons that it's been written for analog, but for sure is an additive thing, and we can evaluate a lot of the skills, even though it's digital. And as Erin mentioned, if you're filming yourself doing the digital recording, we will hear the speaker, we will hear what's going on, and we will see what you're writing. So there is a way to evaluate that.
Okay, I just didn't want to apply if I wasn't going to qualify in some way because I'm primarily digital. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Why you're here? Why we want you to be able to ask these types of questions. It's great. Thanks for being here. Other questions that maybe came up in the chat or that you may have?
I'll voice Elise's. Building on Sarah's question, what does feedback look like within the certification process, and at which points in the experience does it show up?
Nice. This might be for a process person.
It is afterwards, and the assessors, there's always two assessors, and the assessors will get together and analyze everything, go through everything again, and your responses, and then we'll receive.
Yeah, let me add to that if I may, Renata. So the really cool thing is that the IFVP-I partnered with INIFAC, the International Institute of Facilitators, who runs, among other things, the Certified Virtual Facilitator, the Certified Master Facilitator. They do a lot of other certifications. And so a lot of those same processes were adopted, I should say, by the IFVP-I in order to do the same thing. And one of the things that you do get is this nice, okay, here's where you stand on the competencies with regards to the feedback that you get from those two assessors. So you do get written feedback from it. And, again, I found it to be very helpful in terms of my own development and things that I had to work on.
has a question around considering practitioners who aren't primarily protected by NDAs. Renata, would you like for me to go to that one?
Yeah,
to speak?
sure.
So
So we do have an NDA within the application itself when it starts. So when you saw that application fee $90, this is a piece of the application that you fill it out, send a few documents, and pay the fee. So this application will be assessed, and if you are approved to move forward, you will go through the other documents and everything else that it's needed and the bigger fee, right? But if you're not in, if it's missing a lot, or we can see that you're fairly new, we're not gonna let anybody apply for this and pay $2,200 and, not to be approved. We'll make everything that is possible to assess the first portion of the application in order to let you know, okay, you're ready to move forward, or, I think you should study a little bit more, work a little bit hard on some of the competencies that you already felt that you needed to improve, and then apply. So one of the great question is, how can I get better? So it's time, right? The more you work and the more situations you encounter, that's the way that you get better, right?
I just a point comes up in me in times of AI, where there's also a lot of visuals being created by AI, and we all know that our practice cannot be replaced by AI because of the synthesis that's involved in the facilitative aspect of our visuals. But that doesn't help us if clients don't know. If they think it can be replaced, that doesn't help us, even if we know. So a certification is also a good point to, hey, I know what I'm doing, and I'm actually not just about the visual, but the process, and it's woven in together, and this actually works. So I think it's also a good proof to be something to be future-proof.
Thank you, Matthias. And I forgot to answer the NDA portion. Sorry, I lost my train of thought earlier. So for the NDA, that once you pass that first portion of the application, you're going to start actually on the documentation phase of it. That all is protected by NDA. So everything that we will see there, it's for the assessors only, and it can be inclusive, including deleted after we assess that. So it's something that we will never, publish or something. So you have to find something that it's even under NDA that it can be shared with us, and we will be under another NDA that says that we cannot share or show or do anything with those images or recordings. Did I answer that, Sarah?
You did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Folks, we're at a little under time, and I want to give you the time back. We will linger. If you have any questions, I want to say a personal thank you. This was a wish for me to be able to share in a live format and then in a recorded format, just your experiences, our experience as a cohort. So for Tool and for Matthias, for Brian, Renata, myself, all of us that did the first cohort, thank you to all of us for doing this. Nova Scribes for being the platform to let the IFVP-I and all of us be here.